Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions of the worlds of pop culture, social media, sports, and of course hockey. We're going to snap our fingers, and the NHL Draft will be upon us in June. And there's many players that have been working very, very hard for the chance to have their name called and to one day play professional hockey. And I'm pleased to be joined by one of those players. We are talking to a forward who played for the Chicago Steel in the USHL, and he is committed to the University of Minnesota. We are talking to Blake McLaughlin. Blake, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you.
So I want to get to know you a little bit. Where did you kind of grow up? Where did you grow up playing hockey? Like where you were born, was that where you played hockey, or did you move away for hockey? Talk a little bit about that when you started.
Well, I played hockey in Elk River, Minnesota until I was about 10, and then we had a little family change, and my family moved up to Grand Rapids.
Okay, and you played hockey in Grand Rapids?
Yeah, since I was about 11, I played up in Rapids.
And you said since you're about 11, was there a kind of age where you really started to take hockey seriously, or is it like many other hockey players where like when it was like you were 4 or 5, you wanted to play hockey?
Yeah, I kind of knew when I was like 4 that that's all I wanted to be. But funny thing is until I was about 8, I'd say like 7, I always played goalie. It's the only thing I wanted to be.
Oh, really? And what kind of made you? How did it come to be that you changed to playing up front?
I changed to forward because my mom hated that like the games relied on the goalies, and she didn't want to deal with the pressure in the stands.
It's funny because a lot of goalies talk about how they love that. They love that they're the guy that they're the glue. But I could see the other side of the argument too, because if they have a bad game, boom, it's over. But I find interesting. So who is Blake on the ice and who is Blake off the ice? How would you describe yourself?
On the ice, I'd like to think of myself as like a two-way playmaking forward that has a little bit of grit to his game. And then off the ice, I don't know, I think my favorite thing to do is be on the lake, whether it's fishing or wake surfing, doing things like that.
What I find very interesting in your case, and a lot of the players that decide to go the NCAA route, is you're going to have a lot of things to think of down the road and prepare for down the road. For example, you have to prepare for, something called the NHL Draft, but you're also going to have to kind of prepare for going to school, going to play for a fantastic program like the University of Minnesota. So my question to you is kind of, how are you kind of able to balance that throughout your playing year with the Chicago Steel? Because that's always, I guess, going to be in the back of your mind. But what were you doing to kind of cope with that so it wasn't that much of a distraction?
I think the biggest thing is like my billet mom kind of made sure I sat down and did my homework, and it kind of just like got me into a rhythm each night to do my homework, and I think that will help prepare me for college. So,
and was it something that was always in the back of your mind to go play hockey and go to school at the same time and get to play in Minnesota where you're from, right?
Yeah, it's always been a dream to go to Minnesota.
And talk a little bit about what this year you're pretty much a point per game player in the USHL. What were kind of things that you worked on this year, especially being your draft year as compared to last year?
I think like the biggest thing was I was just trying to get bigger in the weight room and just maintaining and not losing any weight, because I don't have much weight on me right now, so I can't lose any.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know. I worked on like on the ice, just like more of my speed and just trying to get faster, because I think like the game's just getting faster as it goes on.
No, absolutely. You had a chance to represent USA hockey in some international tournaments in the past, and what I find interesting is I'm from Canada. Hockey Canada and USA Hockey have always been a huge rivalry. And the games are just getting closer every time, and it's really neck and neck. What do you kind of think about that rivalry going forward? Sometimes, one can make an argument that Canada had the advantage, but USA Hockey is now really stepping up their game in terms of development with the national team development programs and so on.
Yeah, I mean, like what you said with the program is, I think, like, USA, like, we are getting way better. We're playing way faster. And, like, you look at the United States teams, like, they've been unbelievable for whatever tournaments they have, like the World Juniors and that stuff. So, like, yeah, I'd say, like you said it, the games are getting really tight and everything. So, I don't know. It's kind of just like a throw-up. Like, you just don't know what game's going to go which way.
The World Junior Hockey Championship you just mentioned is something that has always been very popular in Canada, but now we're seeing that it is taking stride in the U.S. A lot of people are talking about it. What, in your opinion, makes it such a special tournament? And I'm sure that's a team you eventually like. That's kind of on your mind as well. Like, you want to play for that team one day.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to play for that team, but I think what it means to, like, the players is just like I think it's like one of the biggest stages besides the NHL. Like, it's a huge stage for players to play in, and just like I don't know how to put this, like, just like the fame that you get out of it, like, it's just a really big tournament and everyone knows about it. So it's like everyone just wants to be there.
Do you think it's safe to say that it's become kind of like an unbelievable, map for exposure for like junior hockey and for college hockey? Because there are players that are in this tournament that, boom, for 2 weeks they're in the public eye, and then people say, oh, the tournament's done, but there's an opportunity to follow them in the Frozen Four or in the OHL. There's opportunities afterwards.
Yeah, I do believe that it's like there is a lot of exposure at that tournament.
What have been some of the biggest moments throughout Blake's hockey career thus far? What were some events that you were a part of that really stayed true to you? I mean, your career, one could make an argument, has just begun because there's going to be a lot of cool events down the road. But has anything stood out thus far, Blake?
Winning a state championship in high school. Like, I think that's easily like the greatest memory I've ever had inside of hockey or outside of hockey. Like, it was an unbelievable experience.
And talk about, the group that was in the locker room. I mean, everyone talks about the group, and everyone talks about how close people were, and you won the state championship. Yeah. So I'm sure it was an amazing group of guys.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Like, I did move up there when I was 12, but it felt like I was playing with them since I was 4 or 5. Like, felt like I grew up with those guys, and, like, no matter what, it was just like we were a brotherhood. Like, I still, like, funny thing is, like, 2 days ago I was sucker spearing with about 6 of the other guys. So, like, I mean, we're still in touch, and that was 2 years ago. So it's crazy the brotherhood we had. And maybe that's just because we've played together since we were 10, 11 years old. Mm-hmm. But, like, that was a bond that will never be broken.
No, for sure. On to a serious matter. Do you play Fortnite?
Do I play Fortnite?
Yeah, you do.
Is that what you asked?
Yeah, do you play Fortnite? Yeah, you do. Okay, so do I. Why do you think Fortnite has been so... Why, with hockey players specifically, though, there's like an edge. Like, I feel like if you look at every athlete, hockey players have grasped it more than other athletes.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Fortnite kind of just like... I don't know, like, especially I would say in junior hockey and in college hockey, it's just like one of those things, like, in between classes, like, you have 2 hours to kill and you don't want to take a nap, like
Battle Royale.
Yeah,
you had the biggest smile on your face when I said Fortnite, man. I don't even...
It surprised me. I didn't think that was coming out.
Oh, man,
I think that was gonna be a question.
I have had players late for an interview because they were playing Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
So
there's sometimes, like, when you get into the games and, like, there's 10 people left, you're not leaving. Like, I've seen snap stories when, like, the fire alarms go off, like, they're not leaving.
There's something about that game, though, because for me personally, I don't play a lot of those type of games usually. I just play, like, I was never into Halo. I was never into Call of Duty. I play sports games. I play NHL, NBA, wrestling games. But I love Fortnite. There's something about it.
I don't know what it is, but it's a great game.
It is. It's fun. I do like the building aspect of it. I do get pissed off when I'm just kind of. I found a lot of wood and I'm making a cool fort, and I just want to build, and then someone hits me with a bazooka and it's over. It kind of frustrates me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is get frustrating.
It is frustrating too, where I'm pretty new. Like I'm not playing as much lately, but I'm playing more now. But and I'm learning as I go. But it's just annoying where you land sometimes, and so many people land with you, and it's just like you know what I mean? But no, it is a lot of fun. Going back on the ice though, what do you think is? I find. Couple questions. One, I want to know some of the players that you grew up kind of watching and not necessarily model your game after it, because I'm sure McLaughlin wants to be Blake McLaughlin. Like, I feel like that you want to be your own player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But were there some players that you were kind of fond of growing up?
Yeah, I think like a big one for me was my stepbrother Jake Bischoff. He was a defenseman and all, but like I love the ways like he would take over high school games.
Oh, I didn't know that was your stepbrother.
Oh yeah, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then so like also like Avery Peterson was a big one. Even though like I'm pretty good friends with him now, but it was pretty cool to watch him. Like I think he's the all-time point leader in Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what about anyone in the NHL? Was obviously guys like Patrick Kane.
Yeah, I'm really big fan of Patrick Kane.
For sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. About everyone is too.
I find it interesting too because there is just like if you look at like the World Championship roster for USA right now, there are some guys on that team that are unbelievable and they're still so young, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Like Clayton Keller, like you look at guys like that, Brock Besser, Charlie McAvoy, Alistair Brinkett. These are very young guys that are playing like they've been in the league for like 5 years.
Yeah, it's crazy what these guys are doing in the league right now.
So I want to know what you think has been, what in your opinion, because you're doing it, right? You're living it. You're training every day. You're seeing all the new technologies and new things in terms of training. What is allowed players like you to excel and improve quicker?
I mean, like, I don't know. I just think it's like in Chicago, like, it was just like, I think like the USHL just developed like where you'd practice all week long and you'd only have the games on the weekend. So you honestly had 4 days of training every week. And I think like that time to develop is just so key in a long season.
Brandon McManus, who played for the Chicago Steel, University of Minnesota player, has been on the show before. He has been on with Casey Middlestat, Scott Reedy, and they talked about. So, when I think about hockey, like people, there's a lot of misconceptions about hockey players. People think they know everything about a hockey player, but it might be the complete opposite, right? What do you think some of the misconceptions are? I mean, you are from Minnesota, so like the hair thing, like. You might say like the biggest misconception is people care about the hair that much, but you do. Like that's not a lie. Like you guys care about your hair, and you should because it's fantastic. But what are some things that are man, you just like hair in Fortnite. That's like Blake. Like that's what's going on right now.
I was growing my hair out for playoffs because I couldn't grow a playoff beard, so I had to grow it out on my head.
But seriously, like, what are the biggest like misconceptions in your opinion? Is it kind of like stuff like people just think it's hockey all the time and that you have lives outside of hockey? I think is that safe to say?
Yeah, like everyone like I've met like East Coast, West Coast kids like obviously playing in the USHL and like I don't know, like everyone's just like, oh, it's hockey all the time, like this, that, and like really it's not. Like hockey's big, but like if you go down into like the like Minneapolis area, like some sports are just as big as hockey. Like football's pretty big, especially in Eden Prairie. Like so
for sure. Is that where you played high school?
Where I played high school, I played in Grand Rapids.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Casey Middlestat played Eden Prairie, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. What do you think of that? What do you like? I mean, you played high school hockey, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be some people like that are gonna say that might be like a hit or miss decision, but you seem to have enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved every second of high school hockey. Like playing with your best friends, like nothing will ever beat it.
But it's one of those things where I feel like you're someone that and like Casey are like proving those doubters wrong, because you are players that played high school hockey and now you're going like NCAA, right? You needed time to maybe develop. Like that's some of the reasons. Because you know what, man? Honestly, straight up, like you guys are under the microscope all the time, especially with the NHL draft, and a lot of people are going to say things about that. And I think that that's kind of maybe one of the reasons why maybe you don't use social media as much, because there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How has it been being, an NCAA commit who is on social media, who has the ability to kind of read some stuff about you? I mean, it must be kind of overwhelming sometimes to think about.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty cool, like, if you, like, see, like, someone tweeting about you or something, like, it is pretty cool, but, I mean, like, sometimes it just gets, like, it's just, like, weird thinking, like, people are, like, watching you that close, and, like, some of the things they say can be nice, cannot be nice, like, you know the deal, and so it's just, like, it's kind of funny to see, and, like, it's cool to read.
Blake McLaughlin has a terrible kill record of Fortnite.
Yeah.
Tweeted.
No, they wouldn't say that.
I think we'll wrap up. But Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while, but it's glad. So, anything specific you've been working on for the Combine coming up, the NHL Combine?
No, not too much. Just my like advisor's just been telling me to work out as normal. Don't make any adjustments to the Combine. So I've been just kind of doing my same workouts that I usually do in the summer times. So,
perfect. Where can people follow you on social media? Where are the handles?
Blake McLaughlin without the N, 5.
Awesome. Well, seriously, Blake, thank you so much for coming on Popturnative, and we wish you all the best for the NHL Combine and the NHL Draft, and with your first year in the University of Minnesota in the NCAA.
All right, thank you for having me.
No problem. Well, this has been Popturnative. You can catch previous episodes Popturnative, youtube.com for the video, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to them for the audio. Until next time, this is Blake McLaughlin and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popturnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.